Today, we're continuing one of the most important investigations of our time, determining through feats and lyrical statements just how powerful Eminem really is. By taking his bars at face value and applying real-world logic, we've already scaled Slim and Marshall Mathers, two personas whose verses have shattered reality and pushed them into universal and even existence-ending levels of power. But now, it's time to face the main persona himself, Eminem. In this video, we'll be diving into the Eminem Show and dissecting the lyrics and analyzing the absurd claims and calculating just how strong Eminem is at this point in his discography. This is Power Scaling Eminem. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, alright, bye. Beginning with the third song on the track list for the Eminem Show, Business, Eminem opens by stating this. At first glance, this isn't much to scale. It's a vague flex, and as an opener, it lacks hard numbers. But what it does do is set the tone for the absurd, reality-breaking energy we'll be dealing with throughout this era of Eminem. Firstly, before we calculate anything, let's break down what a miracle actually is. By definition, a miracle is an event that defies natural or scientific explanation, often considered divine in origin. Some of the most famous examples include Jesus healing the sick, Elisha raising the dead, or most notably for our purposes, Joshua praying to the sun and moon to stop in the sky, and them actually stopping. While we could highball this feat into conceptual territory, since miracles technically defy all natural laws, but for the sake of quantifiable scaling, we'll lock onto that last one, the celestial body freeze frame, and break down its destructive potential. For scaling purposes, let's assume that the halting of the sun and moon was actually the halting of the Earth's rotation, since the sun and moon only move through the sky to us due to the Earth's rotation. The Earth's rotational kinetic energy is roughly 2.13 times 10 to the 39 joules. If we were to assume that Eminem could also perform this same miracle, it would mean that he would be outputting the same amount of energy to completely stop the Earth's rotation, already putting him at a planetary plus level of power. There's no real limit on what can be considered a miracle, so this could be highballed to a stupid level, potentially divine multiversal levels of stupid. But for now, we'll leave this feat alone and move on to the next. The next feat we get is on the following song, Square Dance, where Eminem says this. This statement, first off, isn't a comparison, because the word type means a person having a characteristic. That's me elaborating a bit, but the point is, the feat is good to scale. So let's do that. Eminem claims he's not the type to bend or budge, and type here refers to his core nature, not a conditional circumstance. That means his fundamental being is incapable of bending or budging. And here's where it gets kind of wild. Because in our universe, everything can bend or budge. Atoms, light, space-time itself. Under enough force or gravity, everything will bend. Even black holes, which warp space-time itself to an extreme, still operate within those rules of nature. So if Eminem is truly incapable of bending or budging on any level, we could conclude that he possesses durability exceeding space-time itself. He's fundamentally resistant to all known forces in the universe, and therefore must exist either beyond the universe or be composed of something outside of our current understanding of physics. This alone places Eminem at a universal plus durability minimum, and potentially at a multiversal conceptual level, depending on how we interpret bending, as also applying to metaphysical structures like timelines or even probability. You could also speculate that he exists outside of time, since space and time are part of the same construct, and you can't warp time without also bending space. It's pure speculation, but with that in the back of our minds, let's move on to the next feat, which isn't much of a feat, but I'll just show you. At around 40 seconds on the same track, Eminem says this. It's straightforward. Not much of a feat or anything like that, but could be further explained down the line by other statements. For now, just note Eminem is a pit bull. Moving on to an actual feat, just a few seconds later on the same track, Eminem raps this. Here, Eminem implies that he was once in limbo himself, but unlike the others, he managed to escape, leaving them behind. The phrasing isn't casual, it's a statement of first-hand dimensional travel. In certain Catholic traditions and beliefs, limbo is the abode of the souls of those who die in original sin without being assigned to the hell of the damned. Though its depiction is different in many different works of fiction, it's usually some sort of a realm between heaven and hell, and exists outside of our own physical universe, placing it on a separate spiritual plane above normal space-time. From a scaling perspective, this already qualifies as an alternate dimension or sealed realm. Escaping from it means Eminem successfully crossed a closed, isolated plane of existence into our own reality. Many depictions of limbo, from both theological and fictional, portray it as a timeless void, or a place with altered time flow. And if that's the case, Eminem's escape not only implies dimensional travel, but also the ability to function in environments beyond the constraints of time, hinting at some sort of immeasurable speed. This places him at least in the realm of low multiversal travel capabilities, with the possibility of resisting timeless environments altogether. Moving right along, we got a pretty simple and solid statement toward the end of the song, where at around 3 minutes and 25 seconds, Eminem says this: "There's nothing you can do to me, stab me, shoot me." By itself, it's a pretty simple bar. M is pretty much saying that he is impervious to gunfire or stab wounds, which if we cap at those, would put Eminem's durability at a pretty fair level, going off of normal human stats. A modern handgun round, like a 9mm, typically delivers around 500 joules of force, while higher caliber rounds such as a 50 BMG can hit over 18,000 joules. A deep stab from a strong combat knife strike may be in the hundreds of joules range, depending on the force of the penetration and depth. Even if we take the extreme end, surviving point-blank fire from a high-caliber rifle without injury, we're talking tens of thousands of joules of damage resistance. That's enough to make Eminem casually bulletproof as a baseline durability feat. But we may be getting ahead of ourselves. Eminem started the bar by saying there's nothing you can do to me. Not just stab or shoot, but nothing. If we take that literally, it stops being about withstanding physical harm and becomes a statement of absolute invulnerability. Do, in this context, isn't limited to violence. It means any possible action. That means no one can injure him, restrain him, influence him, or even interact with him in any meaningful way. If that's true, the implications get insane pretty quickly. Every effect in physics or metaphysics, whether if it's a bullet, a nuke, a mind control spell, or a timeline reset, relies on some sort of causal interaction. If nothing can do anything to Eminem, then he is casually disconnected from the universe itself. He would either be wrapped in some impenetrable absolute barrier, or simply exist in a domain outside the universe's framework. And if that immunity extends to all possible systems or layers of reality, you're looking at outerversal, causality immune Eminem, a fixed variant constant that no force, law, or narrative can alter. Moving on to the song Soldier, we get a pretty solid reinforcement of prior statements with this bar here, where in the chorus, Eminem raps, "These shoulders hold up so much they won't budge. I'll never fall or fold up. I will never slip or stumble." This line parallels the opening bar in Square Dance, where Eminem claimed he would never bend or budge, but now he raises the stakes just slightly. Fall covers the idea of being knocked down, overpowered, or otherwise losing stability. Fold is the more extreme case. If bending implies distorting form, folding is a full collapse or compression, the kind of deformation you might compare to folding matter or even space-time itself. In real-world physics, resisting that kind of stress would take far more force than just resisting a simple bend. If we take this literally, it reaffirms Eminem's durability as Universal Plus, at the absolute minimum, since everything in the known universe, from planets to the very fabric of space-time, can in theory be bent or folded under enough force. But this could also read as a subtle upgrade from that bend or budge feat. Folding isn't just a deformation within our universe, it's a concept that can extend to higher dimensional structures, hinting at low multiversal durability if applied to the folding of spacetime across different realms. As before, his attack potency and destructive capacity could be scaled to match. Moving on to the song Say Goodbye to Hollywood, at around 3 minutes and 30 seconds in, Eminem raps this: "I sold my soul to the devil, I'll never get it back." Here we get the first clear hint to Eminem's possible connection to hell and other infernal powers. Taken literally, this isn't just poetic imagery. It's a statement of a binding, supernatural transaction. In folklore literature and pop culture, selling your soul isn't a small deal. It's a permanent exchange, where the seller gains direct empowerment from a cosmic patron, often one operating from a universal or multiversal scale, usually being the devil. In a classic legend Faust sold his soul to the devil in exchange for knowledge and power, a bargain that granted him supernatural abilities, influence over life and death, and knowledge beyond human comprehension. In Marvel Comics, Ghost Rider's pact with Mephisto made him capable of battling beings like Hulk and even defeating Doctor Strange, with the higher depictions suggesting that his existence alone could threaten all others. If we frame Eminem's deal under the same archetype, the implications are staggering. This isn't a one-time boost. It's an ongoing channel of otherworldly power, potentially granting him soul manipulation, infernal regeneration, and reality enforcement. That makes Eminem not merely strong, but a conceptual level entity whose existence alone could warp reality, putting him comfortably in the low multiversal tier. Now, we aren't really shown or told what the exact details of Eminem's binding with the devil is, so we can't really grant any of that directly to him, but it's definitely something that is possible and something to consider. Moving on a few songs, we get to the track Say What You Say, where Eminem says this. I was born to brew up storms, stir up shit. Taking this at face value, Eminem is claiming that he has the ability to create storms. A storm, by definition, is a violent disturbance of the atmosphere with strong winds and usually rain, thunder, lightning, or snow. Slim Shady had a similar feat, and that is that we can actually take the energy needed to create a storm and apply that to Eminem, giving him that destructive capacity innately. We can start by highballing things to its utmost, since that's what we do with these Eminem statements. If we go big, like really big, the most impressive kind of storm we can call a storm in astrophysics is a magnetar flare, a star-sized disruption that dumps roughly 2 × 10 to the 39 joules in a single event. For comparison, a massive Earth hurricane releases about 5 × 10 to the 19 joules in a day. That means the magnetar flare is roughly 3.8 × 10 to the 19 times more energetic than a single day of a hurricane. That jump is literally astronomical. So if we interpret brew-up storms as not just weather, but cosmic storms as well, we can reasonably highball Eminem to the point where his storms are magnetar level, enough to fry planets and wreck whole star neighborhoods. This places Eminem at an insane level, and something we can actually quantify, unlike the prior speculative statements before. Then at around 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the same track, Eminem states, "And I'm only sucker punch and swing without warning, and swing to knock somebody's fucking head off." Here we return to a more grounded feat, at least in Eminem's context. The claim is simple. His punch is powerful enough to literally knock someone's head off. We can actually calculate what kind of strength this would take. The average adult human head weighs around 5 kilograms, roughly 11 pounds. To literally knock it off requires applying enough force to overcome the neck's structural integrity and detach it. Estimating conservatively, the human neck can withstand about 300 to 500 newtons of force before serious injury or decapitation occurs. Because this is a sudden, violent punch, the effective force needs to be much higher to snap the neck cleanly and remove the head entirely. In terms of striking power, a professional boxer can generate around 5,000 newtons of force in a punch, which is enough to cause severe trauma, but not decapitation. To actually knock someone's head off, Eminem's punch would need to be several times stronger, probably in the order of 20,000 newtons or more, putting it in the realm of superhuman striking levels. His punches would feel like a literal wrecking ball hitting your skull. Moving to our next feat, at around 3 minutes and 15 seconds in the track Dad's Gone Crazy, Eminem raps this. Get struck by fucking lightning twice at once and die and come back as Vanilla Ice's son. At face value, this implies some sort of reincarnation, but notice the weird specificity. He isn't saying I'll reincarnate in general, he's saying this one specific result. That means it's more evidence of like a targeted situational reincarnation, not a general power to just come back from anything. For scaling purposes, it's interesting and hints at an afterlife mechanic being operable in this world, but it's not really strong enough to count as a broad immortality or a universal reincarnation feat. The next feat comes a couple of songs later where Eminem says this. With this feat alone, you really can't gauge what kind of flight this would entail. It could be inches off the ground, or it could range up to interstellar flight, only if you tie in the other cosmic feats we went over so far, and it would fit pretty consistently with some of those showings. But no conclusion other than Eminem possessing the ability to, bare minimum, move through the air with wings. Duly noted. Then on the same track at around 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, he also says this. I'll be here when y'all are going rebuilding. I want to just add this in because in all of these Eminem scaling videos, I try to give one or maybe a couple examples that kind of give some info on how me and my friend Blaine determine what is and what isn't a feat from the lyrics. And this example is one of those instances that seem like a simple feat, but it's actually lacking context to push it there. Eminem, when he says he will be here when y'all are gone, could be referring to a number of things. It could be a group home of 90-year-old people who will be gone by the time they hear the album, or it could mean literally all of humanity for all of time. Without any further context, we can't count this for anything scaling-wise. With that out of the way, Let's move on to the very last feat on the album. On the song, The Conspiracy Freestyle, Eminem raps this. Taken at face value, it just reaffirms the previous durability claims, never falling, folding, never being bent, etc. I treat this as a reinforcement of the earlier durability chain. It strengthens the case for Universal Plus durability minimum, and is simply more supporting evidence for the claim. So with all the statements taken into consideration, how strong is Eminem on this album, and how does he stack up against his prior counterparts? This version of Eminem is easily the strongest we've scaled so far, if we're going strictly by attack potency, destructive capability, durability, and similar raw stats. From his repeated statements about never falling, bending, budging, or folding, we consistently see at least universal level durability, with strong arguments that his AP and DC could also sit comfortably in that tier. His more grounded, quantifiable feats still put him well above the baseline human levels. These range from roughly 20,000 newtons of force for physically knocking someone's head clean off with a single blow, all the way up to around 2 × 10 to the 39 joules, enough to match the energy output of catastrophic cosmic storms, bordering small star level. And remember, that's a conservative interpretation. If we factor in his universal level statements, those storm calculations would be a serious lowball. For speed, there aren't many direct numerical feats on this album, but certain implications push him far higher. The limbo escape and possible existence outside of time could place him in an infinite or even immeasurable speed category. This is consistent with prior incarnations of Eminem we've scaled so far, who operate on similar levels of speed. In terms of abilities beyond raw stats, this album delivers a ton of dangerous potential. His deal with the devil, if highballed to include the abilities granted in multiple fictional depictions, could theoretically give him a plethora of magical, supernatural, and infernal related abilities, up to and including reality warping. His possible ability to escape limbo or exist outside of the conventional means of time reinforces the multiversal range, with the potential to edge toward outerversal depending on the interpretation. Perhaps most dangerously, he implies that nothing can be done to him, suggesting a form of existence completely beyond interaction from beings within our own universe. In its most extreme reading, this could be boundless tier, but it's at the very least another solid multiversal feat and consistent with his other high-end statements. So, in conclusion, at bare minimum, Eminem on this album is a multiversal level threat with immeasurable speed, a likely existence beyond our own universe and possibly time itself, and the potential for a near limitless arsenal of magical and infernal powers, making him comfortably multiversal plus, and in the most extreme interpretation, a truly boundless entity. And there you have it. I appreciate you watching until the end, and I really thank you for that. Leave a like and comment what rapper or album I should scale next. Also, for any returning viewers, what's up? I've been gone for a bit, but I'm back. I was dealing with some IRL stuff, but I'm ready to get right back into it. I'll be changing one thing going forward: no more weekly uploads. I have a lot going on at the moment, and I do really want to return to weekly uploads eventually, but not anytime soon. I want to use what little free time I do have to really take my time with these videos to ensure that they come out exactly how I want them. Thank you to my viewers who have stuck around during the wait. I promise you nothing but bangers for the next few videos. We got Dragon Ball discussions coming back, blunt rotations coming back, manga reactions, the whole nine. So stick around if any of that interests you, but yeah, that's all I have to talk about for now. Take care.